Alright, welcome everybody. So today we're going to take a look at my article, How to Merge Multiple Data Sets in R with Binds and Joins, as published by the startup on Medium. The idea around this was, I ended up getting frustrated dealing with a lot of different data sets, and when do you use which bind, when do you use which join, and sometimes Google's helpful, sometimes it's not. I'm going to go out on a limb, say that you have checked the link in the description and possibly had the GitHub page up, and I'm just going to go through it, line by line. So I'm going to assume that we have RStudio pulled up, and what we're going to do is up in the top left corner, we're going to click on the little plus sign, and let's go ahead and make a new R Markdown file. We'll call it binds and joins test since I've already done this. And we'll go ahead and make that. So when you're looking at RStudio and you make a new R Markdown file, if you are new, you don't need anything from here down. It's extra stuff that is not necessary. So we'll just go ahead, hit enter down a little bit, and we'll go ahead and click up here in the top right, kind of this top left quadrant, this little plus sign with a C, and insert a new chunk, and we'll insert your chunk of R. So one of the things that you can do is, you can import libraries. So R has its own base function, and what I'm going to do is import libraries. And if you see this, I'm doing this, as I would do live, and just kind of following along. Obviously, you've got the code. So you can either use library tidyverse, or you can use require tidyverse. Doesn't really matter. If you, I'm kind of partial to require. We're going to go ahead and use that. If you run that and everything works, great. If you run it and get an error, what you can do is run the function install.packages, and whenever you're installing a package, you only install it one time. So what we're going to do is do tidyverse, and you have to put it in double quotes because that's how R feels like doing it. I'm not actually going to run it because obviously I have tidyverse installed, but if you wanted to do that, that would be how we do it. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new cell. And what we're going to do is create the data set. I'm just going to copy paste the code because there's no point typing it out again since we've already got it. If you want to go through and type it out for yourself, which if you're new I would definitely recommend that you do, but if not, we're going to just go with it. So these are just some really basic vectors. We've got the C function for combine, and we're going to make an object called price, one called item, one called retailer, one called df1. Just for data frame 1. In price, we're going to have just some numbers that I made up. Some items, arbitrarily selected products that mean absolutely nothing. And we're going to pick some retailers, and we're going to have that. Now the first thing that we're going to do, if we want to run these one by one, and if you're on Windows, you can do that with Control-Enter with your cursor at the end of the line like I did. If you're on a Mac, it is Command-Enter. So we see over here in the top right we have a little numeric vector thing, got a few numbers in it. If we want to run item one at a time, it's got some characters, great, and retailers is going to be awesome as well, and this comment doesn't actually get executed. So that's all fine, and we're going to take a look at how we do a data frame. We're just going to combine all the vectors together. So let's run those, and in R you can go ahead and click up here, price, item, retailer, exactly like what we'd want. And head is going to show you just the first few rows. In this case there's only 5, so it's only going to show us 5. So you can run them one at a time if you'd like, or you can do the easy way and just click the magic green button to run the current chunk, and it'll do it all for you. So next thing we're going to do is jump down to creating another data frame. So again, we'll insert another chunk, and we'll go to the create a second data frame and check it comes out right. Again, I'm just going to copy paste this because there's no point typing that out again. And we have retailer with a capital R, item with a capital I, and price. This is different. So let's go ahead and run that, and we made another data frame. Right, so we have retailer, item, and price. Okay, well, we're starting to see some issues if you've been through the database world and you've been through R long enough to know that it likes things named exactly the same way. Well, we'll work through that here in just a second. So let's go ahead and add another chunk, and we'll go ahead and copy paste in data set number 3 from the create a third data frame. Check that it comes out. We've got items, manufacturer, price, cost of production, and we're going to make another data frame called df3. We'll go ahead and run that. So we have a whole nother data frame. Some of the columns overlap, some of them don't, and we'll work through that. So one of the things that you'll find on Google is just, oh, okay, just R-bind them together. And that is great if you have things that have the exact same column names. So let's take a look, and I'm just going to copy paste part of this. The GitHub link and the Medium article have everything else that we need. So I'm just going to copy paste the rbind test thing and use this rbind. So we're going to bind rows together. Reading this in plain English is we take data frame 1 and data frame 2 and we bind the rows together. So data frame 1's on top, data frame 2 is down there. Create an object called rbind test, and we'll take a look at it. So we are going to get an error message where the names do not match the previous names. Alright, well, if we take a look at df1 and we take a look at df2, right, so we have price, item, and retailer, item, price. 1, they're not in the right order, and 2, capital letters on df2, lowercase letters on df1. R sees those as different things because the infinite wisdom of R says that's how we do it. So we will resolve that here in a little bit. Let's make another chunk and do cbind. So again, I'm just going to copy part of this from the article. We'll do cbind, same idea as before. We'll have data frame 1, data frame 2, and we'll use cbind instead of rbind. And cbind does column binding. And we're going to put that into cbind test, and we're going to take a look at what happens. So now we have a different number of rows. So it's slightly different error. So a different number of rows is that one of them has 5, one of them has 4. How do we combine the columns? It doesn't know really what to do, and it's not really designed to put in missing values like you'd expect in a database. So if rbind and cbind don't work out for us, one of the things that we can do is borrow from SQL and do the SQL style of doing things, which is joins. Fortunately, in tidyverse, we have all the different kinds of joins: left join, right join, outer join, inner join, full join. Those are the main ones. If there's more, great. There's documentation linked to the tidyverse join page. But let's take a look. Let's try a left join. So what a left join is going to do is take your left table, which in this case is df1, the first table, and it's going to try to join df2 on it. So essentially taking the left table and the right table and mashing them together. Let's see what happens. So we run that, we get another error. So we have join column must be present. So we can't join it because price with a capital P and price with a lower p are different things. So again, we've got another error. So now let's take a look at what happens if we do a different left join with a different table. So again, add a new chunk of R, paste in what we got. We're going to left join df1 and df3 by price, the lowercase p. So what's going to happen here is df1 has a column called price, df3 has a column called price. So we're going to get to run something this time, but we have a whole bunch of NAs and only one price column. Well, what happened? Our left table is df1, price item retailer, and even though the price column was the same, there was nothing that actually overlapped from the right table. So what happened was NAs got put in, missing values, and doesn't really look right, and we have columns of NAs. Obviously not ideal. Well, that's because we joined on something and none of the prices overlapped. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to try to do this a smart way. And what we're going to do is, obviously, we're going to have to format some of our data. In R, one of the things, and really data in general, no matter what language you're using, 80% of your work is going to be getting your data in a structure that you can actually use it. 20% is going to be actually doing something useful. Oftentimes it's closer to 85-15. So what we're going to do here is one of many ways to change column names in R. We're going to use the names function, and we're going to use names df1. The first column, we're going to change that to price with a capital P. Second column, we're going to change that to item with a capital I and retailer with a capital R. And we're going to take a look and make sure that actually runs through. Price item retailer looks good to me. So now let's try rbind again. So if you're the student among you following along, you'll see what we're about to do. So we didn't actually get that copied over correctly. Here we go. So what we're going to do is try to combine df1 and df2 again, and we're going to do that with rbind. Now let's see what happens. Okay, so now we've got price, item, and retailer, and the rows got bound on top of each other. We have a price of something, we have an item, and we have a retailer. That's a good structure. So this is showing that you have to have them exactly right, because that's the way R feels. Now let's take a look at how we can incorporate data frame number 3. So let's go ahead and copy the next chunk down, and we will paste that in. We're going to change the names just like we did, use the names function. df3, we're going to select column number 2. It's really important to remember that R number 1 is actually number 1. Number 2 is actually number 2, unlike a language like Python where 0 is 1, 1 is 2, 2 is 3. R1 is 1. It does not start with 0. So we're going to take that second column of df3 and change that to price with a capital P. And we're going to take the third column, change that to item with a capital I. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bind these together, and notice we're going to use our rbind test2 that we created right up here, and we're going to bind df3 and see what happens. Got another error. The number of columns don't match. Well, we should have seen that coming. So what can we do? We can try to do an inner join, right? So what an inner join is going to do, I like to think of inner joins as zippers, where if you have a jacket, you have a left side and you have a right side, and when you have the zipper, you zip it straight up. And you don't just magically put it together. You have to have teeth on one side line up with teeth on the other side. Something in the left table aligns with something in the right table, and when you zip it, with the by column, whatever's in common, then you're going to put the data together. Whatever overlaps is going to stay, everything else is going to get kicked out. So let's go ahead and paste that in. Take a look at our inner join. So our left table is going to be rbind test2, df3 is going to be over there, and we're going to take a look and see what happens. So we still have no observations, right? So what happens if we switch which table? It'll automatically join by price and item. It finds which ones together. There's just nothing in common, right? So let's try a left join, where we have our left table and we put our right table onto it. Okay, see, now that works, right? Where we have rbind test2 what we've been doing, and we have df3, and we're going to join them by price item, and well, we still have missing values. Let's see what right join does. We still have the concept of left and right tables, but we're going to take a look at what happens when we do that, and we see that we have a similar structure, but it just essentially pastes them on there. It doesn't actually join everything all the way together, but we're getting closer. We just have 5 columns instead of 6 because price and item match between the tables. So let's try a full join. And a full join, we're going to do spoiler here, is going to be what actually solves our problem. But if we do a full join from rbind test2 to df3, and we're going to see that that actually ends up working out, where everything that we're supposed to have actually gets done, right? Where we've got all of our prices are together, our items are together, our retailers are together, cost of production, manufacturer data that's there is listed, data that was missing is still missing, but the data gets formatted correctly. So if we take a look at our whole data set up here, whatever's missing is supposed to be there, and whatever was combined from the tables, everything is there. That's as complete a data set as we're going to get. So there's obviously more than one way to do this, and we can take a look at another way we could have done this part of the code, and we'll do that real quick. So if we run all of this, it's probably going to get mad. Nope, it actually worked out. So we changed the names of the columns, and then we can just do 2 full joins, right? Like it's kind of the same idea. Is if you want to get all the names in common, and if we full join df1 and df2 together, full join df3 and full join intermediate together, we end up with the exact same table, right? It doesn't actually matter. So it's the same table of what we're looking at. It might be in a slightly different order, but all of our data is going to be there, all nice and pretty. So whatever you're going to do with your data, you can pass in one thing. If you need all your data in one place, pass it into a model, do whatever you got to do. But that wraps up our discussion about how to merge multiple data sets with R with binds and joins with a nice little video. Make sure you take a look at the Medium article or take a look at the website, and you can see the text. You can take a look at the GitHub, and we'll go from there.